Hello, hello, my amazing, awesome, beautiful listeners. How are you today? Thank you for joining me on the Empowered Divorce podcast. I said that name, even though I know you're fully aware of the name of this podcast, but I'm reminding you, we are here talking about how to have an empowered divorce. And I am here to offer you tools and concepts and thoughts to help you shift from a place where you feel disempowered and know that your power has been taken from you, because a lot of you are coming from abusive relationships, and help you step into an empowered divorce. You are all coming from different stages and phases in your journey. And so sometimes certain concepts or tools aren't going to resonate with you right now. I always love to offer them anyways, knowing that some of you listening might feel like, oh my gosh, that feels too dangerous, or that feels too scary or risky. But the fact that you're listening, and the fact that is going to now be something in your tool belt, when you're ready, you know where to find it and you know how to use it. And I feel like this is another one of those episodes to maybe put in your toolbox and get curious about, see how this might apply to you in your particular journey. I want to share a few ideas that you can practice today that, when practiced, can help you shift from victim to thriver, to pull you out of maybe merely surviving life, but thriving in life. I know deep down that's what we want, but it can feel so impossible, right? It can feel like there's no way, or we don't even know what what does it even look like in these situations? So I'm going to offer you a couple things just to practice that can help you get there today. First, I want to share with you some core thoughts that are often associated with the victim mentality and show you how being in this space actually can serve a purpose for a time. Because I do not want to indicate here that being in this level of energy, this space of victim, is wrong. We want to be more aware of it and then consciously choose it if it in fact does serve us for this particular time. So in this lower level of energy, this victim phase, your brain is offering you thoughts like, I can't, I have no other options, I'm not enough, I always lose out, there's nothing I can do about this anyway, so it doesn't matter, I'll just fail, what's the point? If you're finding yourself thinking those thoughts, or you resonate with those thoughts, whether consciously, subconsciously, choose these, you might notice emotions like shame, guilt, self-doubt are going to show up, fear, overwhelm, and then there's the powerless, hopeless worry, even embarrassment. All these emotions that hold a lower level of energy in your body, which then will produce lower level actions, or in a lot of cases, inaction. Now, when I say lower level of energy, many of your brains, who are those perfectionist brains who have the plus and minus, the point system going on for you, might have just associated, oh gosh, lower level. And notice if your brain made that mean less than, like somehow you're intrinsically less, or like you yourself are not enough because you're in a lower level of energy. It is truly exactly what I'm saying there. Energy at a lower level. All of you have definitely experienced lower energy, where just the thought of getting out of bed is exhausting. I remember when I was divorced and I was living in my apartment and working like freaking 17, 18 hours a day, the alarm would go off in the morning and I immediately was just like exhausted. I mean, I just slept through the night, but I'd wake up and be like, oh my gosh, I'm exhausted. The thought of getting out of bed was exhausting. Getting out of bed was exhausting. And I would literally move one leg. Like I'd be like, okay, just one leg. And I'd move the leg out of the bed. Okay, next leg, move the leg out of the bed. Okay, move my bum, move my bum out of the bed, like one part at a time, because it was just too exhausting to like actually get my entire body up and get out of bed. And I would have to do that into the bathroom, into the shower, get dressed, one step at a time, because I was functioning at such a low level of energy. And rightly so. My entire system was experiencing trauma. when your system is experiencing this lower level of energies, because we're thinking thoughts like, I can't, I have no other options. And I'm really, really going to invite any judgment about this level to take a step aside for a moment. When we're in this level, we're not going to move forward because we don't believe we have any options to do so. We're focused on the problems that most of the time the brain believes are being caused to you, right? And so you're not seeing any other solution. This is a very act upon state. You might see yourself isolating, avoiding your emotions, numbing out, again, from this place of powerlessness and fear. This level is the freeze response. It is a very correct response when you are experiencing trauma. And so when you've experienced this, here are some ways that being in this victim space and this lower level of energy perhaps is serving you right now. You're not putting a whole lot of energy into life. Maybe you're cutting back on a lot of these extracurricular things that you used to do. And rather than shaming yourself, this is exactly right, because your system needs all the rest it can get because you've tapped into your reserve energy, right? I probably explained this before, but I love the brain, and understanding how the brain works really helps me get out of shame and understand that what is happening in my body is exactly right. When you experience trauma, you are no longer functioning from the front part of your brain. You're functioning from the subconscious part of the brain, the part that automatically responds when there's trauma. So it goes into the fight, flight, or dorsal vagal freeze. This is how your system protects itself. Danger is around. And that part of the brain is where the stored energy is. Now, all throughout your day, your human brain is designed to figure out how to save that energy in case a traumatic event happens. On a normal functioning day, when, let's say, your alarm goes off, you have a plan to go to the gym or go do some yoga, go for a walk, and you know that this is something that you want to choose to do, but the alarm goes off, you hit the snooze button, and immediately your brain offers you the thought, that's too much energy. Let's not do that thing. Let's not go on that walk or go to the gym. And you're sitting there maybe even a little perplexed because you're like, well, I thought I wanted to do this. I know that this is really would be healthy and good, and I want to choose to do this. Why is my brain not on board? Why is there so much resistance? Well, this is your primitive brain doing its job, like I was talking about. It looks for every possible way that you're going to expend energy and tell you, no, 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 let's not do that. We need to save and store the energy in case something traumatic happens. Okay. Now, when you have lived in fight, flight, freeze, when you've lived in either a hyper or hypo arousal far longer than intended, you have used all the reserves. And so at this point, your system by design has shut down because it needs to store some energy. So you might be feeling like, I don't have the energy to see people. I don't have the energy to do my hobbies. I don't even have the energy to exercise. All the things that I used to love to do, cook, whatever. I just can't do it. I don't want to do it. You might be judging yourself for that or thinking that something's wrong. And I want to offer you a different way of looking at this. And this is kind of to my point of how this space is serving you right now is it needs to shut down so that it can store energy because you've used your reserves. Being in this lower level of energy, victim thinking, others can do things for you so that you don't have to. Again, to help you store energy, slow things down. Another way that this level of energy, this victim mentality, victim space, however you want to phrase it, can serve you is when you're not making choices, then you're protected from failure, from embarrassment, from rejection. It feels safer here. If I don't have to choose, if I don't have to step into consciousness and use energy to make choices and be intentional, then I don't risk the rejection or the possible failure that comes with making choices. And when you've gone through what you've experienced, which I'm going to assume you feel like your marriage is a failure. You feel like you got something wrong. You might be embarrassed about the situation. You might feel rejected by your partner and even family and friends. That's so devastating, and to your primitive brain, so overwhelming that it needs to shut down and not make any choices because it doesn't want to have to go through that again. So how often do you notice yourself using the phrase, I can't, I have to, there isn't any other option? Be aware of how often your brain offers you these thoughts, and maybe just take note of all the things that are coming up. At the end of the day, look curiously at the list of things that you can't do, have to do, should do, supposed to do, or have no other option but to do. And all I'm offering you today with that is just awareness, right? There's 3 steps to change. And the first one is awareness. And if we aren't even aware that we're in this space, that we are in this level of energy, we can't change. We're not going to change. All right. The next level of energy that I want to talk about here is the fight and even flight response. And this comes with thoughts like you always, and I never, I can't believe he's doing that. Oh, so wrong. I would never. It is all his fault. See, I can't count on anybody, especially him. I might as well just do it myself. Or no one will ever be good enough. And I just hate all men or all whatever. A lot of they should do this, they shouldn't do that. All of those thoughts live here in that level of energy. This is where anger, resentment, dissonance are in this level of energy. Anxiety. So when you think and feel this way, you might notice your actions coming from a high stressed place, aggressive, blaming, frustration, and really just being in a struggle. You're not going to trust anyone at this level of energy. But look, this fight or flight, anger, energy can serve you in that you can get a lot of shit done here, right? You can push through, and there is a lot that you can accomplish. It's just not a sustainable level of energy. This is a very short-term solution. And when you do live in this space longer than intended, like I mentioned before, you're going to experience the burnout and then go into dorsal vagal victim shutdown mode, that even lower level of energy, like I talked about before. So fight flight is a higher level of energy than victim. Okay. Anger has more energy source than victim. When we've exhausted this level of energy out, we've used the reserves, then it has to shut down. Does that make sense? And this is what happens to a lot of us who go through betrayal trauma and abusive situations that you've been in years. Think about how long your system has been fighting and flighting, and then going into shutdown mode, reserve, and then back to fight, flight, getting some level of energy, but then it busts through that reserve because it doesn't have a whole lot to expend, and then it goes back. And so you can see how moving from this level of energy to the next is so disconnecting, because we're not tapping into that parasympathetic, that grounding, centered vagus nerve. We're not even touching that nerve because we're bouncing from one of these 2 different levels. So if you can identify more with this level of energy, then you too be aware this week. Notice when you're thinking thoughts that are blaming someone or blaming a situation, like I can't do that thing because he or because this. Notice when you believe that others shouldn't do something, when you feel you need to control others or the situation. Take note of this. And again, at the end of the day, notice how often you spend time in this level of energy. We want to be aware of this and see what result you're getting as you think thoughts like, I can't, I have to, I'm supposed to, I should. He can't, he shouldn't, how dare they? These thoughts will give you certain results in your life. When you feel helpless or hopeless about your financial situation, What actions or inactions do you see yourself doing or not doing? What results is that giving you? Do you like those results? And if not, guess what? You have the agency and power to change that. The shift begins within. It doesn't begin with anything outside of you. It doesn't shift because someone or something outside of you changes. Thank God, honestly. Because if that were the case, I would still be stuck. If my healing and my ability to shift out of this lower level of energy depended on this other person who abused and betrayed, I would still be stuck. I would be powerless. I would be hopeless. I would be a victim. So here's what you can practice if you are ready to make the shift. Remember, you don't have to, right? If you want to or feel like you need to be in this space longer, just choose it. If you want to be angry and blame him for everything going wrong in your life, just choose it. That alone will actually shift your energy up a notch. If you are ready to practice being the chooser in your life, then practice adding these words. I choose to everything you do. Start simple and easy and have fun with it. Choose some things that maybe aren't so emotionally charged. I choose to go to the bathroom rather than I have to. I choose to eat lunch rather than I have to eat lunch. I choose to put almonds on my salad rather than I should put almonds on my salad. You get the point. Just intentionally add those words to everything you're doing and notice the energy shift in your body as you become the chooser. Having an empowered divorce is not having everything go perfectly. Having an empowered divorce is not being happy all the time and not struggling. It's just being in conscious choice as much as you can along the journey. If you find yourself thinking, I can't work outside the home, then start by saying, I choose not to work outside the home. And if I choose not to work outside the home, then what can I choose to do that will bring in income? If I think I cannot date again, I will never trust again. Shift to I choose to never date again, and I choose to never trust again. Own it. Be with yourself in choice, even in these spaces, because I will bet that once you say out loud enough times, I choose, you might start wanting to choose something else. When you become the chooser, you start to see more options. If you choose to not trust anyone ever again, rather than I can't trust anyone ever again, as you consciously choose that space, at some point you will see that there is, in fact, an option to choose to trust.
There is no wrong space. We don't need to make ourselves wrong for being where we're at. But until we see and accept where we're at, then we can't move forward. Give yourself a lot of grace and compassion. All this is practice. And that's why every week in these episodes, I give you questions and things to consider and practice. There is no perfect. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that such a relief to know that there's no perfect in this? I am still choosing to practice every day. There is nothing that I have inside of me that you don't have. Truly, the difference in each of our journeys is our ability to access our agency. All right, everyone. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being with me today, and I will see you next time.
Have you heard about my Believing in You coaching program? If you haven't, check it out. This is a beautiful way to start practicing how to compassionately move from victim to survivor to thriver, and really learning how to believe something new about yourself and about your future. Every 12-week cycle in your membership, you will receive 2 free one-on-one sessions with me. Plus, there are so many worksheets to help you in between sessions, as well as other ways to personally reach out to me when you do feel stuck in between those 12-week sessions. It's designed to really help you take your healing to that next level and start thriving. Head on over, get your spot for the next round of the Believing in You group coaching program, because you are the chooser in your life and you get to create the life you want, because you can. Take care, everybody.